All right, guys, it's that time. You are on the Rick Ginn YouTube channel. I am Rick Ginn. And for those of you who don't know me, I have been wholesaling for 21 years and absolutely love this business. That's why I've been here so long. I'm one of those crazy people who actually enjoys working on wholesaling deals. If you want to know all about wholesaling, if you're trying to get started or you're in it, you're trying to figure it out, maybe you came from another program, you are in the right place. Once again, my name is Rick Ginn, and today we're talking all about inbound leads. And I'm going to explain the difference between the terminology of like inbound and outbound. And that way you can grasp the concept, because a lot of people on this stream, or even the Flip with Rick, or even the Zach Ginn stream, you guys are so focused on outbound leads, you don't even realize some of the opportunities that are in front of you. I'm going to talk to you about some of the advantages of doing inbound leads. I'm going to talk about cost, the time and energy it takes, and how to scale it up. And if you haven't considered it, this is the one live stream you want to do, because most people start out with outbound leads. And I'm fine with that. I think that's awesome, because a lot of you are light on money. You got more time. That's a great time. But at some point, you have to switch over and add inbound leads. And people are like, when do I do it? How much does it cost? And how does that work? And is it even legal to do that? And that's what we're going to walk through today. So what we'll do is take the first 30 minutes and I'll connect with you that, and I will show you how to do it. And then there's two ways to connect with me. On the side of the screen, you have your comment section. If you have a question, please put it in there. There's no stupid questions, only the ones you want to ask. Also, let us know what market you're from, and let us know if you're doing deals, what's going on, and anything you need help with. This is a great place to connect with people that actually want to be involved in wholesaling. So let's go ahead and jump into it. By the way, if you've never done a wholesale deal before, you're trying to figure this out, you can easily jump on my course. No, don't worry. I'm not selling you anything. Where did I put it? It's right. It's right here. Freewholesaling.com. It's a son me and my course created 100% for free. Not only teach you how to get your first deal that make your first 100 grand, and we just give everything out. So if I just show you how to do this, at some point you're going to want to give back to me, and I'm okay with that. And if you don't give back to me, I'm even okay with that, because I've been on this earth long enough. I want to give back to you guys. So make sure you check out freewholesaling.com. So let's jump right into it. And we're talking about inbound leads. But before we start talking about inbound leads, we have to talk about the definitions. So you have inbound and you have outbound. Inbound, most of you are used to it. This is where, I'm mixing them up. Most of you are focused on outbound. Outbounding, an example is you get a list and you cold call that list. You are making the phone calls. You reach out and you just dial. You might be reaching out and doing SMS text blasting. That, once again, an example of outbound marketing. If you're reaching out and trying to connect with real estate agents, that is not a starter strategy, but that is a type of outbound marketing. You see, outbound, you have to initiate, you have to go on the attack and make the phone call. And if your list is free or not, that is an example of outbound marketing. What we're talking about today is inbound. And you should get excited for this one, because think about inbound is they're actually calling you, they're contacting you. What you have to understand is a lot of people are like, which is better? Honestly, the only real distinction is inbound leads can be more scalable, but the downside is you're going to have to spend money. But here's the little clue, guys. Even when you do inbound leads, they'll still chew you out. So I don't want you to think it's like a safe all, no one's ever going to light you up. People got a lot of time on their hands, and when they get pissed off, they call and even light you up, even on inbound marketing. So now you know the difference is, one, you're reaching out to the seller, and then that's outbound, and inbound is when they're reaching out to you. Now, how do they reach out to you? Real simple. 9 times out of 10, it's a phone call. Occasionally, it's an email. Very rarely, it's a text. What would the other way? I guess you could do it via fax. And then like a one-page landing page that pretty much gets forwarded to your email. And that's how they're going to reach out to you. So You've got to understand outbound leads, you chase the seller. And remember the difference here, inbound leads, the sellers reach out to you. So predominantly phone number is going to be your best source for inbound leads. No, guys, never ever leave it up to a website because people are lazy about filling in like web pages, especially a one-page landing page. I'm here to tell you the best inbound contact point is always going to be your phone number. Your virtual phone number, whatever it is, completely up to you, but you got to understand that is the primary way. I see so many people try to leave an email or like a website. People won't do it. They're really lazy. So people know that if they call someone on the phone, they can usually talk to someone. So let's talk about the pros and cons of inbound leads. And you've got to understand this. So many people think it's like such a quick fix, and it's not. You really got to educate yourself and think about it. So let's talk about the easy part, the pros, right? Number one, it's extremely efficient. Think about this. If you're going to call 2,000 sellers via cold calling, you've got to dial 2,000 people. And then you got to, on average, how many minutes is it going to take per phone call? It is a lot of time, and you have to set it aside. When you do inbound, you do not have this problem. So if I send out 5,000 pieces of whatever direct mail and then 20 people call me, I only deal with 20 phone calls. Whereas outbound, you have to attempt to reach out to 2,000 people, and then you might only be able to talk to 20 people when it's said and done. That's what I mean by efficiency. You can argue this till you turn blue. The efficiency of inbound is so much more. Now, keep in mind, just because someone calls you on inbound doesn't always mean they're motivated. You will get people that have a lot of time to waste in their life, and they will chew you out. Remember, every call you get in inbound marketing is an opportunity, and that's why you have to look at it. Never get upset when someone calls to chew you out, tell you to F off. Hey, it's an opportunity. They gave you their personal phone number, and that has a lot of value for you. So just keep that in mind. You have to detach from the outcome. And when they chew you out, you just got to listen. I want to just thank you for calling me at the opportunity. I really appreciate it. Don't get cute with it. So let's talk about the cons of inbound. There are cons. Cost is the biggest one. It costs money, guys. And here's the challenge. Even if you have the money when you start out wholesaling, most of you don't understand how to handle phones. You don't know how to qualify, and you don't know what to ask for. If you want to learn more on how to do this, go over to freewholesaling.com. We teach you the magic 4 qualifying questions, MCTP. Trust me, it's all at freewholesaling.com. Check it out. But cost is the biggest downfall of this because you have to set up systems. So if you do direct mail, if you do online, whatever you do, it all costs money because you've got to get in front of your target audience. And it's going to cost you money to do that. That's the downside, guys. But I want you to understand it's so scalable and it's so efficient. It works out really well for you to do it that way. So you've got to understand the cost. The second part, which I've already mentioned to, is there's a learning curve. And this is why I don't want brand new wholesalers that have no experience to necessarily start out with this method, because you don't know how to talk to people and you don't know how to qualify them. So if you spend thousands of dollars on an inbound marketing program and you don't understand how to talk to people, it can be disastrous for you. Some of you can suck it up and get through it. Some of you guys don't have thousands of dollars to waste. That's why we teach you outbound marketing first. It doesn't mean you don't do inbound marketing. It just means you're going to have to practice and you're really going to have to pay attention. It's because you're never going to wait till you know everything in wholesaling. But if you want to scale your operations, inbound leads, definitely the ticket. If you can get past the cost and the learning curve, we can help you out at freewholesaling.com. It's not that big of a deal, but it is going to be new to you, and I don't want you guys to waste money on it. So once you understand those two. So let's talk about this. What is the best inbound leads? Highly controversial. I definitely have my opinions on this, but I'm going to walk you through each one of them. And some of them you guys are going to overlook on them. Number one, first one is networking. Wait a minute, Rick. I thought you were talking about inbound leads. Listen, if you do networking correctly, meaning you're going to hand out old school, old-fashioned business cards, you maybe go to a re-event, you network with investors before and after the meeting, and after the meeting in the parking lot is where the best networking goes. is you talk to them and maybe they want to do a joint venture with you. Maybe they have a property they want to work with you on. Maybe they have a buyer for one of your deals. That's where you want to connect with them and they're going to call you. And that is an example of inbound marketing by handing out business cards old school. Remember, when you network with people, the key is make sure you provide them value before they provide it to you. That's how you get a strong networking group. But once again, if you're going to network with realtors, you're going to network with brokers, with title companies, with real estate lawyers, with probate lawyers, with property management companies. These are all valuable inbound marketing methods and they should get you leads. A lot of people overlook this. I'm just here to tell you, this will be around forever. Now, how you hand them out your business cards, I know they got these things where you can just tap your phones and you can share contacts with simple Apple devices. Make it super simple for people and just network. Networking is one of my greatest forms of inbound leads still, because honestly is the cheapest and most efficient. And usually when I get an inbound lead from my networking sources, it's usually a very highly reliable source and I make a ton of money doing that. So keep that in mind with that. The obvious ones is going to be direct mail. There's basically two types of sources you can do with direct mail. It's going to be letters and postcards. I'm going to give you the him and the haw of both of them. I did letters forever, and I'm going to be honest with you. Letters versus postcards typically outperform postcards. And I'm a postcard guy. Here's the problem with letters. They're more than twice the cost of postcards. That's why I don't do them. I don't, listen, it's already expensive enough, but letters can be long format, 8.5 by 11. And most people that put out letters, they put way too much information on it. And they usually kill it by their envelope because they put some sort of sticker or some sort of automated printing on there with a barcode. And a lot of times that mail doesn't get opened because people think it's automated. Now, if you have a handwritten or you do like a handwritten software, you got a much better shot and that's fine with it. But letters on average are almost twice the cost. You have to have a letter, you have to print on it, they got to trifold it, they got to put it in the envelope, and they have to use an envelope. So the envelope, the letter, the printing, and the additional postage, honestly, it's just why I stay away from letters. If you could afford to do it in a perfect world, but honestly, if you get the same deal from a postcard as you do a letter, you might as well cut your cost almost in half. I like to use postcard. Now, the advantage of using postcards is you have to be precise and you have to put in it. You can't over explain yourself on a postcard. And yes, people do this all the time. If you want to figure out really how to use postcards, check out the ROS postcard we use. I've been using it for years. There's nothing else like it on the market. And it really makes sellers initiate reaching out to you because you give them an offer. So if you want to learn more how to do this, you go to mailingmastery.com. It's all in freewholesaling.com. It's there. But when you start out doing this, I prefer postcards. One side, you are going to have the addressee with the person you're mailing it out to. On the other side, you're going to have your message. Now, usually leave your message on both sides, but I'm here to tell you, you have to understand this on any type of direct mail you do. The less you put in it, the better you're going to do. Because if you try to over-explain your services, there is no reason for them to call you. Whenever you do any type of inbound marketing, you have to give them a call to action. And a call to action simply is you have to make the seller curious enough to call you. How do you make him curious? Give them an offer at the RS postcard. Honestly, if you try to overpay him for the house, they're going to go, what are you, crazy? And if you try to underpay him, they're going to call you and tell you, are you crazy? Either way, they're going to compare it to their Zillow, their Zestimate, and they're going to call you. Now, if you're targeting the right list, this is an incredible plan and it works very well. Why I like postcards for roughly, it's going to cost you on average about 50 cents. It's probably closer to 53 to 54 cents now with the new cost of postage. But if you wanted to send out 1,000 letters, it's about $500. If you do it with letters, you're going to double those numbers. And for that reason is why I am out. And by the way, here's a little tip on inbound marketing for direct mail. I do not mail the same person 5 postcards. It does not work. I've tried it. Yes, I've heard every expert in the field, but I've been in this business for 21 years. If they don't get it after 2 or 3 mailings, they will never get it. Honestly, I mail them once and I might mail them 1 or 2 times the rest of the year, and that's it. Okay. I do not agree with he or she who spends the most marketing wins, because you can go broke doing that. And what's the point of doing that in wholesaling? So keep that in mind with it. The main difference on direct mail between postcards and letters. And by the way, probates does not fall under this category. You guys do your own letters. I give you the templates for it. And you print it on your own printer and you print them out once or twice a week. The next one, lumpy mail. What does he mean by lumpy mail? This is when you send, say, if someone, you found a house and say it's in your neighborhood, it's been vacant for years and nobody can find the owner, nobody can figure it out. Sometimes you can send what we call like a lumpy mail. And this costs money. I'm not going to lie to you. It's anywhere from 10 to 20 bucks. And you send them an odd piece of mail that someone, if they get it, they're definitely going to open it. Maybe it's a pop-up video. Maybe it's a thumb drive with a video. They even have these little, for like 20 bucks, a one-time use video thing that will replay a video on it with like a thumb drive. They even have like birthday cards for this stuff. But it's unique. You're taking a risk with it, but hopefully you have a high probability of them getting it. Another way is if you send, if you put on someone's door and it looks like a FedEx package, maybe it's got a big eagle on there, and then you put in like a very lumpy package in there of like letters and pictures. The idea is to get the seller's attention. How do you do it? With big lumpy mail, stuff that sticks out like a sore thumb. Listen, I even had a mailing campaign once where I stuck $1. I think I did 2,000 mailers. I stuck $1 in each one and go, listen, I'm paying you $1 to call me back. They called. You have no idea how many people called. It didn't work out, but I'm telling you, that would be a lumpy mail idea. Something you go above and beyond that goes, you do something that nobody else has ever done before, but you usually have to do it on a small scale because if you did it on a big scale, it would cost you a fortune to do that. So keep that in mind on the lumpy mail. Next one, often overlooked inbound is Bandit Signs. Bandit Signs, you put a phone number on there. Here's how Bandit Signs guys work. It's real simple. I probably put out over 1 million Bandit Signs, and I'm not exaggerating that number. I did so many Bandit Signs. I bought a company for Bandit Signs exclusively. I paid way too much more money for it, but I wanted the machines, I wanted the warehouse, and I ran it. And here's the one thing I've learned from Bandit Signs after doing them for a very long time. White or yellow are your colors. You're going to pay more for yellow because they have to color the sign. Number two, 18 by 24 and only print on one side because the coroplast is made from oil, and because the products got so much more expensive, they've made it thinner. So if you print on one side, it bleeds through the other side. So if you have a sunny day, you guys think you're like doubling your message by putting it on both sides. It screws the message up. So white sign, black ink. You could do a yellow sign, black ink. That's pretty much the standard. Blue ink works too on yellow or white. It stands out. Reds never worked. And by the way, the UV ink they put on these signs is extremely expensive. That's why these things are so expensive to produce. The biggest mistake you can go out and make is buy a pack of 500 or 1,000 signs. You have them shipped to your office or your home. They're very expensive to ship. They're heavy. And I'm going to be honest with you, it's not going to help you get a deal any faster. Take that sign and go get the big giant Sharpie marker, the real fat black one. You go to your box stores and get them Home Depot, Lowe's, and you simply write on the top one, sell your house today, any condition, anytime, and then put the phone number in big print. Put out 10 to 15 signs and see if they stick, see if you get phone calls. And that's how you find your sweet spots with Bandit Signs. Make sure you check with your local city and county ordinances. God knows I got in trouble with this, and you probably will eventually too, but sometimes you do what you got to do to get the hustle. Now, look wherever you see these dating sites and these mattress signs companies, because they're the ones who put out the most Bandit Signs. And if you can strike an agreement with those people, you would be amazed on how much you guys can get done together. You could share printing costs. You could share staffing to put the signs out. Maybe you put them out one weekend, the other puts them out the other weekend, but you'll have to get someone you trust. Guys, don't overlook Bandit Signs. I love Bandit Signs, and they actually work really well. And it is an old school inbound marketing process, but it works well. The old school way is to go out and put out 100, 200 signs on a weekend. It doesn't work like that anymore. You have to go out with a guerrilla marketing approach. Put out 10 or 12 signs and see if they stick and see if you get traction from them. And here's the biggest secret. Ready? And this goes for direct mail too. The number one telltale of success of inbound marketing is you have to answer your phones, preferably live. Answer the dang phones. If you don't answer your phone and it goes to voicemail, you got to hear the voicemail. Most of the time they hang up on you, and then you got to call them back and you got to play this phone tag. It can cost you hours and hours of time just to answer the dang phone. It makes people feel better. And here's the key part is just answer the phone just like it's you. Just say, hello, hey, it's Rick, whatever, and just answer the phones. The next inbound is the digital bandit signs. And this works the same way. If you want to learn how to do this, go over to freewholesaling.com. We teach you how to put bandit signs inside your organic Facebook groups, your Instagram groups, your Pinterest, your whatevers. It works really well. You just basically use the power of rapport building, and then you use bridging statements to let them know that not only do I love dogs, but I buy houses for cash. If you got one that needs to be sold, I would love to help everybody out here and do some dog sitting while I'm doing it. You have to do it in that kind of manner, because if you do it any other way, it comes off as spam and you're going to be kicked out of all these groups. I got a message on this today. If you're just going to spam, I am not your guy. I ain't going to teach you how to do it because it annoys me. And people do it in our group all the time. The next one is PPC, which means pay per click. And I'm going to tell you, you need to avoid this one at all cost, because the cost is at a number that most of you can't stomach. Ask me how I know this. The average paid per click budget for a good wholesaler is around 15,000 is the lightest I ever see. 20 to 30 grand a month is what you need to spend. And it takes 6 months to even get profitable. So you would have to commit over $100,000 to even try this technique. And you're going to have someone who's really fast and really good with this stuff. The people that do best already have a PPC background with Google, AdSense, YouTube, all that other stuff. And that is a requirement. If not, you have to hire someone. And every guru will tell you, just hire this guy or hire that guy. And they always tell me, give me another 6 months, give me another 6 months. It's like built into the repertoire. I've hired all these people. If you have a partner that has experience in this, you actually have a shot at doing it. But it is high risk, high reward type of deal. You've got to be very fast on your leads. So when someone responds to a paid per click lead, it's usually on a web page. You get an email notification. And honestly, you got like 5 to 7 minutes to respond, because they're filling out like 10 other forms while you do that. So, and by the way, it goes 7 days a week. It doesn't take a break for holidays, weekends, nights, or anything. And you're going to have to do the same. That's why it's hard for like someone who's just starting out doing it. The next one you always hear about, oh my God, Facebook ads, they're the best thing in the world. Listen, there's certain markets this technique actually works. But on average, if you give me 10 markets, I'll give you 9 failed Facebook ad campaigns. It seems so easy. You just go through Facebook. You give them your credit card. Setting up the ads is somewhat complex. And here's the problem. Facebook is constantly changing it. And I'll let you in a little secret. Facebook does not like wholesalers. Google, they could care less. But Facebook, they do not like us. And a lot of your ads will get ghosted, all sorts of stuff. And honestly, the biggest powerful statement you'll ever hear about Facebook ads is, oh my God, the leads are so cheap. The cost per lead so cheap, between $8 and $12 a lead. Guys, stop looking at the stat. It's pointless. If I get 100 leads for $8 and it cost me $800 that month, and I got zero traction, I didn't get a deal, what do you care what the cost per lead is? I'd rather have one lead for $3,000 and make $30,000. That is a better return for my money. So the biggest thing you'll see with Facebook ads is it's always a consultant, by the way, always a consultant, never a wholesaler, or they're a former wholesaler and they can make more money by showing you how to do Facebook ads. They're what they call consultants. Consultants are people who don't have skin in the game, but tell you how to be successful, even though they're not anymore. It's just the truth. Got to make it a lot of crap for that one. But the problem with Facebook is nobody goes to Facebook to sell their house. Let me repeat. Nobody goes to Facebook. I'm going to log into Facebook because I want to sell my house today. They're typically going to go to Google, Bing, stuff like that, and go in the search engines. Facebook is for entertainment, connecting with family and friends, and getting their dopamine rush of like the next hit of information, the latest gossip and juice on it. Facebook does not qualify that for lead generations for people who are motivated to sell their house. And on average, with a realtor, the average nurture time, meaning how long you have to engage a prospect on Facebook before they turn into business for a realtor, ready for this? 12 to 18 months. How long do you think it's going to take to convert them to actually sell their house? It's probably going to take you as long, if not longer. So are you willing to talk to someone for free for 12 to 18 months before they sell you a house? And the odds are they probably, listen, they didn't come off any list. They came off of Facebook. And 9 times out of 10, these people all need realtors. I don't like Facebook ads. I'm not saying it doesn't work, but for the most part, you give me 10 markets, I'll give you 9 failed campaigns. There's got to be a reason for this, guys. Stop focusing on the cost per lead. I don't care if it's a nickel. If they are a waste of time, your return on your time is horrendous on this. And remember, nobody goes to Facebook to sell their house. They go to Google, they go to Bing, they go to actual search engines. Facebook is not a search engine. Test me on this. So, guys, that's it. That's all I have on inbound leads. I love inbound leads. The one thing that some of us have overlooked is when you do inbound leads, for the most part, especially with direct mail, Bandit Signs a little sketchy, it's legal. So as much as SMS, the carriers, and the cold calling, you're getting cracked down on the carriers, with inbound type of leads, you don't have this problem. And if someone else says, I'm calling the police because you sent me a piece of direct mail, you can call the police. There's nothing the police can do because the United States government has allowed, because I paid my postage stamp fee, my tax, so to speak, it is 100% legal. You can sleep all night knowing it's 100% legal. That's why a lot of people do. It's legal, it's scalable, and it's highly efficient. And at some point, you guys are going to have to look at your operations, go, Rick, at some point, cold call does choke you out a little bit. And my goal is you get enough deals on your belt and experience so you can teach a cold caller how to replace yourself. And then you manage the KPIs. You know how many calls they have to make. You know what their average length of calls are going to be and what their closing percentages should be because you did it. And then you can teach them. If you don't go through that journey, you can't teach other people. And once you do that, you can take your newfound time and then you can institute one of these inbound marketing leads. If it's direct mail, I don't care if it's PPC, even Bandit Signs, you'll have more bandwidth to do that stuff. Because at some point, you can't cold call forever. I've never, ever met someone that can cold call forever. And if they do, they usually have a very sour attitude. You only have so much bandwidth to talk to people. In your first 2 years, you want to cold call as many people as humanly possibly. And then you can come back and goes, I remember I was in the trenches cold calling every day for 2 years. And honestly, some of you are 4 or 5 years. The more you do it, the more experience you're going to have and the better business owner you're going to be down the road. So keep that in mind. If you're not doing inbound, don't panic. The idea of this live stream was to give you a vision of what it looks like if you're going to add these types and why you would do it. The reason most of you don't do it is because you're inexperienced and you lack the capital to do it. But I'm here to tell you, it can switch quickly. Once you understand how to talk to sellers, you start getting deals under contract. Why not do inbound marketing? If you want to learn more on how to do inbound marketing tactics, go to freewholesaling.com. I'm going to put that on the bottom here. And then what we are going to do is we are going to get to your questions. So let me take this off. That was, I don't know how I left that up there. Let's take that off. Let's get to your questions. Let me check the comments here. Let's see here. Not a lot of questions. So I see Jason's one about the key. So keep in mind, guys, I used to work for a car company. And so we ran the leasing of the cars. Actually, I worked for Enterprise Rent a Car. I don't know why I'm so embarrassed. I'm not embarrassed to say it. I did my 11-year sentence there, and I'm here to tell you, I worked my way to the top, but I wasn't proud of my corporate world. But he's dead right. They would mail you a key, and then one person would start the car. What they don't tell you is they mail that key across all the dealerships in the United States. So you have like a 1 in 800,000 chance of having a starting key. And then what each dealer does, part of the marketing, is they pay like $800 for an insurance policy. So if it starts the key, they only have to pay $800. Actually, they all pay into the insurance policy. But the crazy thing is, you think, okay, if there's 500 customers, at least you have a 1 in 500 shot. No, it's not that way. It's like 1 in 800,000. It's just like I did a golf tournament when I was with Enterprise Rent a Car, and it's the prize. If you got a hole in one, you want a car. And the crazy part is, we went out and we put a car out on the golf course. Now, we had new cars, so we had them all the time, but I couldn't afford to give one away. So I bought an insurance policy. The insurance policy, I think it cost me $1,100. And then if they won the car, so then you want them to win the car. But I remember there was a year there, I don't think we paid the insurance policy, and it was the most nervous 5 hours of my life ever. So just to let you know, when you see like some of this stuff, you can use some of the ingenuity that people use, like Lumpy Mail, to do services like this. People love this stuff. So that was a good point, Lo. That's funny. So on this question, it says, how do you work with realtors when they're the cash buyers? Listen, they can, for the most part, we're doing assignments, but realtors, they want to know what they're making. So they're used to making between 2 and 3% of whatever the sales price is. So that's how they're going to judge if you're paying them correctly. Now it depends. If I'm bailing them out of a deal and there wasn't a lot of help, I always try to take care of them. But I have some deals we don't make a lot of money, and I'll give the realtor $1,000, $1,500, but I show them I'm only making $3,500. So if it's a really small fee and you got to go, listen, I can't pay you 3% of it because that's more than what the entire transaction would make, just show it to them and go, listen, I'm only making $5,000 on this, and you're getting 10% of it. So on average, if you had a $5,000 deal, you would have to pay that. You can't pay them less than $500. And honestly, I'd probably pay him $1,000 if it's a good realtor. Good question. Have you ever done a? So about asked, have you ever done a probate where the seller is a power of attorney? Power of attorney is kind of irrelevant because the person's already passed away. So a power of attorney only has power when the person's alive. So unless you have a different way to form that question, a power of attorney would be irrelevant in a probate. So, and then the last question here is access. How often your acquisition managers follow up on hot, warm, and cold leads? Man, as much as you humanly possibly can. So there is a fine line of following up people too much because you piss them off. And until you hit that threshold a few times, you won't know. And you have to. And the reality is you're going to lose some deals because you push people. But the opposite effect is if you don't make enough follow-ups and you don't do it in a timely manner, you can lose more deals by your lack of follow-up. So you're going to have to redline that number sometimes, and you just got to push. And you always apologize when you piss people off, because nothing worse to me when I tell, listen, call me back. I'll call you back Friday, or you call me back Friday. I'll let you know where I'm at. And then somebody calls me back Saturday morning. I go, dude, I just told you I needed a week to talk to my family, do everything. And then you call back Monday, and then you call Tuesday and Wednesday. By Thursday, I'm like, dude, lose my number. You are not someone I want to do business with. That's an example of redlining. But honestly, more of you are guilty of not calling anybody back. So I'd rather you redline than undercall. So good questions. Well, okay, I'm going to hit this because it's up here. So because Zach's putting up good questions. What's your experience with billboards and radio ads? I've done them both. And honestly, from a wholesaler, unless you're going big baller number and you got a big giant budget, I wouldn't bother doing it. The problem with radio ads, it's based on a demographic area. And with these iHeartRadio and stuff like that, let's face it, guys, people are tuning more on the internet to the radio than they are on a radio signal. So here's the problem is my area covers 200 miles. And a lot of those markets I don't even do business with because they're just not good. So when I get a radio ad and I get it in like Pahokee, Florida, I know I don't even want that deal. I don't even have wholesalers I can work with there. So the problem with radio ads is it's local to them, but it's really spread out. And then you're getting ads run all over the areas, like a 200 geographic mile area, and most of you aren't equipped to handle it. And then the other thing is you have to figure out how to do radio ad buys, and usually you have to hire a broker to do that. And it's all fine and dandy until political season comes around, and then you get kicked to the curb. So it's on average, if you do radio ads, it's about $5,000 a month, and most of you don't have the pocket for it. I've done it. I've made money with it. It just, to me, it's not sustainable. I do know some friends that do this actually in the Florida market, but like, it's just not to me, the spreads aren't big enough there for it. There's only so much you can do with it. As far as billboards, it's a billboard, and I don't know. I just think billboards are a dying breed, but they're expensive. They ain't cheap. So unless you own your own, honestly, that is no place to start in wholesaling. I promise you that. Does it work? Yes. The question is it worth your return on your investment? So the only exception to radio ads is I've done exclusive ones. So every now and then you can find like there are still local radio stations. You guys can drive around. You'll see an antenna, and like, this is radio 88.7. Some of them are based on religion, which, listen, I'm not going to get the whole religious thing, but like, there is a very, very dedicated following to that. Now, it's much cheaper, but it's very localized, but it's a much smaller crowd than if you were doing a national, like an iHeart or and remember, most of these radios are owned by huge companies all over the country, and that's the biggest challenge on that. So, okay. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to jump on the lives, and we're going to bring you on here. And the idea is we want to get solutions. We want to figure it out. And honestly, the more truthful you are with me, the easier this process is. If you don't tell me the truth, I promise you I cannot help you, or I'm going to give you the wrong answer, because if I don't have the truth, I'm going to give you an answer that doesn't apply to what you're telling me. So, guys, get on here. Number one, be ready. And number two, like, don't come on here and complain. I'm the last guy you want to complain to. Everything I do for you guys is pretty much for free. And the only way I can help you, and the only time I ever see problems, when people don't tell me the truth. Because remember, if you want to become rich, you have to stop looking rich. And looking rich is most people's problems on here. It's just the truth. I've done it. I know you've done it. And until you figure out how to completely lose your ego, you're going to struggle in wholesaling. Your ego is that part in your mind that always wants you to be right and really look good. To become rich, it takes dedication, it takes sacrifice, and a willingness to do what most people won't do. And it's hard. And I get it, but I've been through this journey. I'm just telling you, it is night and day between trying to look rich and actually being rich. Like, here's a rich person's problem. Like, what do I do with all this money so I don't have to pay all these taxes? And it forces you to buy other assets that appreciate and pay you over time, even outside of real estate. And mostly I invest heavy in real estate, but I do a lot of other things. So that being said, I'm not here to judge you. I will never pass judgment on you. But if you can't be truthful with yourself, there's no point in doing these one-on-ones, because I can't help you. Also, I'm not a miracle worker. If you need a deal in like 2 days, I'm probably not the best guy to reach out to, because that's more of a wish list when you got to do that. So those are the rules to it. We're going to jump onto it, and let's do this. Jason, you there?
Yes, I'm here. How are you?
Good, man. What I see, that's like a hairy scrunch ball you got on there.
Oh yeah, this is my koosh ball. Yeah, this keeps me busy.
I'm used to like the foam rubber one, and I get that thing going in my hand. It's like it gets torn up, man. Or my dog gets it and it's over.
Oh yeah. Is Pahokee the boondocks? Is that like out in the sticks for you? I just looked it up.
Yeah. Listen, I have no problems with Pahokee, but Pahokee is like the number one place where like NFL prospects come from. It is a football town. They have like some freak athletes out there. Some of the most talented people have come from Pahokee. I could go from a long list.
Wow.
But listen, when you come from challenging neighborhoods, some kids feel like this is their only way out. But And I'm not picking on Pahokee. It's just a part in the interior of Florida where it's very poor.
Yeah.
And it's a very
Okay.
rough place to grow up. And if you grew up there, you're a very tough kid. So it's like every
Wow.
time I go, hey, I got this guy who wants to sell 10 houses Pahokee. I'm like, lose my nut. I don't even try. I tried for 4 years to do Pahokee. I will.
This doesn't work.
Every one of you guys will find towns like that. Like I'm not going. No.
Yeah.
I'm not going there.
Yeah. I
There's
found my
another
town
town.
here.
I'm not going to give a name because I'm going to give it. I went out there once, and I knew it was a duplex. I go, okay, let me go check it out. It was so cheap. I got attacked by a rooster, and guys, I'm not talking about an average rooster. This rooster came up to my waist, and I'm 6'2".
Oh my gosh.
And I ran for my life, and then he tried to break the glass on my car. And my buddy goes, yeah, he raises those things to fight them. And they got these huge talons on them, and he got into my leg and stuff. And like, I'm borderline almost got stitches. I'm like, I didn't know a rooster could do that kind of damage. So it's, and then I have other areas where like there's a ton of pit bulls, very aggressive dogs.
Oh, and, yeah.
I've seen some very graphic stuff happen. I'm like, after you see it once or twice, I go, I'm not going back there.
Yeah.
Like, it's just too rough. You all have areas like that. It's like, it doesn't even matter. You could put it out there for $1. You're never selling the damn thing. It's just, the turnover is crazy. It's hard to keep up with the property. So rental properties in very, very poor socioeconomic like areas, they're very tough to sell because nobody wants to deal with the problems.
Yeah. So, I found my city here in South Carolina like that.
You're nice about it. I go, I just don't service that city. I'm sorry.
Unfortunately, yeah, we don't do that.
I can't get a realtor out there. And there's like only 2 people that buy out there, and they basically own the entire town.
Yeah.
And like they want it like 90% cheaper than what it's even being offered to you for. So they wait out everybody. They buy everything. And how do you know if you have a town like that? If there's nothing on MLS for that town, odds are that's one of those towns. It's just, it is. And it's like when you see stuff that can't trade on MLS. But the crazy thing is they're used to sell for $5 or $10 out there now. They're up to like 80 to 100,000, which I thought we'd never see that light of day.
Where, in Pahokee?
Yeah. I'm just,
yeah,
crazy. But
yeah,
I got nothing against Pahokee. Some of the
just those
greatest Hall of Fame NFL football players have come from Pahokee, and a big part of the University of Miami, which I loved back in the 80s. They went out and heavily recruited Belgrade, Pahokee, Liberty City, and they got the meanest, toughest, most gifted athletic kids. And you guys remember back in the 80s, University of Miami destroyed teams. Now, I don't think they followed the rules of the academic program. But Miami rewrote how college football is played, and they went into towns where they found gifted athletes, and hopefully they provided them a good education. I don't know if they actually did, but they used a lot of those people. But anyways, everybody has towns like that where it's just like you don't want to get out of the car. And I'm talking about at high noon during the day. It's like, is that dog going to back off? Is that chicken going to kill me? What is that thing? And we have areas like that. When they come up, I'm just really nice about it. I'm like, we can't help you. And they always seem to fill out the online forms the fastest. And God, if you did direct mail out there, you get killed.
Yeah. So. No, I just happened to look it up when you said it.
I know. I got nothing against it, but look at all the NFL players that came out of Pahokee. You'd be blown away.
Yeah.
It just means those kids are hungry because they didn't have a lot of opportunity. When they get it, they run with it. My God, if you put one of those kids in wholesaling, oh my God, they would have killed it.
Yeah.
So, but
anyways, I have 2 questions. My first question is I've been sending out probate leads for probate letters for a while now, and I got a guy call me that his mother passed away. And so anyway, to make a long story short, it's a 3-bedroom, 2-bath townhouse. The ARV is around 275 on it. I talked with him like two or 3 times already. He wants 285 for it. And so my question is, the ARV is 275. He wants 285. Should I even bother giving him an offer? Like I was getting ready to call him now. I told him I'd call him back by the end of the day. I was thinking about going for no at like 200,000, but is it even worth giving an offer, or should I just?
Is there anything wrong with the house?
No, there isn't. It's ready to go. I mean, just based off what he's telling me, it's ready to go. Of course, I'd have to.
So here's what I do on some of these. Some of it depends on your experience level. I always tell people sometimes when they're starting out, just go on as many appointments as you can because you'll learn a lot.
Okay.
That being said, I don't like to waste time either.
Uh-huh.
Sometimes you just throw the white elephant out in the room. Why don't you just list it with a realtor and just shut up and see what they say? You're looking for them to say, well, I'm not a big fan of realtors, or, the house has got a few issues and I'd like to talk to you about them. Then I'm going to go. But like, you got to try to qualify people, but you're going to have something to get a deal with them. Would you agree? There's going to have to be some sort of motivation. Either he hates realtors or there's something wrong with the house. But if you can't get one sign of motivation, you got to wonder, like, he's looking for a wish list.
Yeah.
And a wish list is selling it. He says 285 because the property is only worth 275. So he figures he'll negotiate that with you, and figured you'll pay him cash. He doesn't have to pay the 6% realtor fee or the closing cost. Dude, you're a dream.
Right.
And so, like, sometimes you got to kind of state the obvious to him. Go, listen, you probably get 275 if you just go ahead and list it with a realtor now. And then by the time you pay the 6% realtor fees, the 3% closings, and then haggle that 5%, or you can meet with someone like me and I can find you the best net number. Which do you want to do?
And get it
just
done.
Set it up like that. I don't want you to go meet with people that just.
Yeah.
Because from what you're telling me, he's looking for kind of a sucker. Like.
Yeah, that's what I figured. Yeah.
But that's like.
Trying to get over on me pretty much.
Yeah, but that's nuts. Like, so.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's just massaging them a little bit. Remember, most people lie to you on the phone. They lie to you. Like, I promise you, if somebody passed away from the house, I guarantee there's a host of issues with that house he's not telling you about. So just nicely, just talk to him about it. With probates, I always try to be open about it, especially if the house is vacant, because there might be a shot, but you can't pay retail for it and you can't assign a deal like that. So just, you got to find some sort of motivating factor in there. Yeah. And if not, just keep him on the follow-up. And if he's not putting on the market and he's still not selling it, obviously he's not telling you something about the property.
Something's wrong.
Remember,
he doesn't even live here. He lives in Ohio.
People don't want to tell you their problems in the first minute of having a conversation with them.
Yeah. So
the fact he's reaching out and calling you, there's probably something he hasn't quite told you about. But listen, some probates, if it's all about money and top dollar, you will not be the buyer, and you're okay saying that out loud.
Yeah.
And then a lot of times I'll refer them to a realtor. I'll ask for a third of the commission. No, I'm not a licensed realtor. I get a marketing fee, guys. And I don't give a crap because I work hard to get the leads. The standard realtor when they share with other realtors is about 25%. But listen, if you provide them a lead and it's like a good lead, ask for a third always. So you never get less than 25%. That's it.
25% of what? 3% or 6%?
Well, it depends on
what they work.
If they get both sides of it. So
okay.
But guys, I got to tell you, sometimes you get a $300,000 house, 3%, 9,000, a third of that. It's $3,300. It's nothing to laugh at. Like I collect these checks endlessly, but they get a deal that's already set up. I can't make somebody sell me a wholesale deal. And if they're not open to it and they want top dollar, then I'll send somebody in there. And I say, listen, if it gets below this number, call me. Or if you can't move it, give me a call and then we'll both tag team the seller together. That's it.
Yeah. Okay.
So find a motivating factor before you go out there.
Yeah. Okay. Because I'm getting ready to call him. Okay. So that was my first question. My second question is, and I'll hurry up because I know you got to move on. I got a call from some business, some corporation. I don't know. I wrote it down, but I forgot what it was called.
Okay.
Pretty much what he does is he works with retirement homes. And so he'll advertise when somebody comes in, they want to get into this retirement home. They have a house. They want to sell the house. So he pretty much will refer me. He'll refer to them me, so that way they call me if they ever want to sell their house. But I have to pay for that service. Have you ever gotten that advertisement or that kind of?
Just look at the numbers, but
He said it was like $2,000 for the year. So
well,
I don't
have them show you results, and you just got to make a business decision on it. Honestly, if it was 2,000 a year and you got like 3 or 4 deals out of it, I'd say do it in a heartbeat. But you know the reality of that, right?
What?
He's selling it to everybody.
Yeah.
And so the problem is you're not on some sort of unique special list.
Right.
And
everybody has access to it.
The fact is, if mom goes into a retirement home or something, they're not always going to sell to a wholesaler. Actually, less than half of them are.
Yeah.
So the question is, how many leads did you do for 2020, for up to date 2023? And have them go back, look at the last 2 or 3 years. I would stay away from those services because they're usually, if they were so good, there would be so many people using it and you would already heard about it. So
yeah, true. Well, he cold called me and he wanted me to get on a Zoom and this whole long thing. I ended up canceling it. He sucked me in at first, but then I was like, I don't know about this.
So that's a problem. It sounds too good to be true. It usually is.
Yeah.
And he has to sell that service to thousands and thousands of people.
Yeah.
So you see how the numbers work.
Yeah.
And to be honest with you, he's probably not even in charge of the data. So if it was him personally that had it and gave you the lead and nobody else, it might be worth it, but I doubt it.
But it's not.
I highly doubt it.
He works for a
highly
big
doubt
company.
it. And I would just stay away from it.
I just
Unless
didn't know
he can
if
show
you
you
had
numbers and references, but he won't be able to.
No, I didn't. He won't be able to.
Because the reality is, if that service was what it says, it'd be worth $50,000.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, all those leads coming in.
Because if I can find like 100 people to pay me $2,000 a year, like I can make a nice living onto this. So and he probably sells just tons of other data like that, and he's just a salesman. But look into it. Don't always write off people because if it sounds good, too good to be true, trust your gut. And if they can verify it, then give them the time of day. But if they can't, if they're just going to give you like pro forma stuff, which means like perfect world crap, I'm not interested in it.
It's not worth it.
That's most of your guys like these lead services. Guys, I paid for the one of the best lists I thought was out there for the longest time was the inheritance list. And then I quickly learned to beat the inheritance list, just go chase probates down.
Yeah.
Because inheritance is just a probate that is fully matured.
A completed probate, yeah.
So like I bet, and that service was $5,000 a year.
Wow.
And I got a deal or two off of it, but it was painful.
Yeah.
And I go, man, I can beat these people. And then I started beating every one of them. I'm like, why even bother with your service? Because you're only doing it when the property record changes. By then, the decision's already been made. The house has been vacant for 6 months. It's pointless. So too good to be true is my gut feeling. So, but Jason, just understand, don't write off everyone because it sounds too good to be true, because I've had the opposite happen to me before too.
Where it ended up being really good.
Well, it's like, how you just write off everyone because you just assume everyone's ripping you off.
Yeah.
If you do that, you wind up being like a bitter old man that never learns anything. You have to always be open and listen. But like, if it sounds too good to be true, it just says, okay, I'm aware you're going to have to prove this to me, though. I'm not taking your word for it. I'm not a sheep.
Yeah.
And then if they really have a product, they will step up and show it to you. If they don't, they're just going to try to sales pitch you to death. And after about 2 minutes, you're like, dude, I'm done.
Yeah.
So
because it was like a 45-minute Zoom. And so I was just like,
it's like right now, like I got an issue with my left shoulder, and I've done everything. I've gone to orthopedics. I've gotten cortisone shots. I've done extensive therapy. And so I don't need surgery, but it's one of those deals like, hey, Rick, if you stop lifting weights, you'll be fine. I'm like, no, like I don't want to do that. So then I search endlessly. So I hired a guy just the other day, and I had to pay, I don't know, it was like $500 or $1,000. He goes, I guarantee after this evaluation, it'll take me 2 hours. I'll tell you if it'll work. And then here's what I'll do. He goes, I'll guarantee it works. I'll give you the price per session and the max. And he goes, if you're not happy by the end, he goes, I'll give you all your money back. I go, okay. Now someone's putting their, like, to me, I might as
Yeah.
well give it a shot, right?
Yeah. Nothing to lose.
Whereas
Yeah.
the other guy is say, listen, it's $1,000 up front and we'll see if it works. I'm like, I'm not paying you for that.
Yeah.
But I've
So
tried
did
it
it
every way.
work?
I've already wasted like $5,000 trying to figure it out. And I've had it like some success and it goes away. I figured any type of needle or like drugs, it's just temporary.
Yeah.
And so but it's just annoying enough where like I want to stop using my shoulder, but like I need it for everything I want to do with
That,
my upper body.
yeah.
And
That's a big trade-off.
it's like an arthritis thing, like a bursitis. And so, but guys, you'd be surprised. I had a hip issue with running and I went to like extremely like expensive orthopedic people. And I had a guy on YouTube in 6 weeks solve my problem just by doing an exercise. But I did trial and error for 6 weeks and I solved it because it was so painful to get that like injection in my hip. And I was like, I don't want to do that crap. I don't want
Yeah.
needles the rest of it. And cortisone's horrible for your body.
Yeah. And that's like every what, like 6 months or something you got to do that shot?
Like every 3 months.
So it's even worse. Jeez.
And then I learned it was like poison. I'm like, okay, I don't put any other poison. Why the hell would I do that?
Yeah.
And when you get a cortisone shot, you see why, because it really like feels good, but like
Yeah.
it's very temporary. So it's like what I'm saying is every time you try these things, by the way, I've tried everything. I've had everybody rip me off. I've tried everything. It sounds good to be true. Don't turn it off. But just say, listen,
just be cautious.
I have a heightened sense of, if you can prove me wrong with some high level like questions and proof, I'll hear you out. If not, then just move on. It's like,
yeah.
And you can tell when someone's selling you, it's just nothing but pitch after pitch. I go, dude, I'm looking for actual results. Give me someone I can call right now that's used you over the last year and have gotten at least one deal.
Yeah.
Oh, no numbers? I see you later. That guy should be ripping off 10 or 12 people, right?
Yeah.
So you know what to do with it. If it sounds too good to be true, a lot of times it is. And guys, when it comes to gurus, coaches, it's the same thing in wholesaling. Nobody in this game can guarantee you getting a deal. Nobody, not even me or Zach. But if you're willing to put in the work and you're going to take the action and you consume the information and you don't quit, I can guarantee you a deal. But remember, the guarantee is based on your actions, not mine. And that's the biggest problem we have in this entire business. So it's like, but the problem is a lot of you guys get so south, like you just assume everyone's lying and they're not. Every now and then somebody has a really good idea. And here's the key, guys. In wholesaling, there's no such thing as secrets. Once a secret's being sold, it's a business strategy. Now, if you get that secret early, you can run with it maybe a year, maybe 2. But once it's out there, everyone will have it and there's no competitive advantage. So you should keep your ears to the ground. When I was younger in this business and I developed a lot of these strategies, I shared it with a lot of people for free. And people are like, no, there's no way that's going to work. I'm like, okay. I took like 5 of the like biggest wholesalers I know now, and they ran with my crap and they did really well with it. And like they knew I might as well just give it a shot. So by the way, I try every marketing method and then I tell you when it goes. You guys know I've done Facebook ads. I've spent a significant amount of money. I just don't make money with it. It just, by the time you wash all the numbers out, are you making money? I've made money on Facebook ads, but it's definitely hit and miss. It is not a consistent business plan. People don't go to Facebook to sell their house. It's not a search engine.
Yeah, I agree.
If it was, I'd be teaching guys at Facebook ads courses. It just.
Yeah, you don't recommend it very much.
I've tried it. I've put over 50 grand into it. I'm just telling you. I don't even think I got my 50 grand out of it, much less made it profitable. That's why I don't talk about it. See, the thing is, a lot of the stuff we do in wholesaling is if people can actually take it, apply it, and show me how they make money, I am all for it. But if you're just going to tell me how it's going to make you money and never show me, and then my favorite is when you cherry pick 1 or 2 deals across the country, anybody can do that. That doesn't mean they actually made money doing it. So,
yeah.
What else you got?
Rick, that's it, man. I appreciate your time. Thank you for talking with me.
I'll talk to you, Jason.
See you next time.
Appreciate it, bud. See you.
Yep. Have a good day.
Okay. Later. Okay. Lisa, you there? Lisa. Remember I said you got to pay attention when I pull you on here. Okay, Lisa, I'll come back to you. 1, 2, 3. Ryan's paying attention though. I know it. What's up, Ryan?
How you doing today?
I'm fantastic. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good actually. I got a little situation where it's, when it's with real estate or wholesaling, it's never a bad problem as long as you got a problem.
Okay,
So
tell me.
I kind of, I guess if you want to call it a daisy chain. I had a wholesaler, like I was doing reverse iron for dollars, left a sticky note. He called me back. That house wasn't able to do anything with it, but he sent me another address and I ran the numbers. The numbers are pretty good. He
Mhm.
wanted a certain price for it, and I was like, okay, but he didn't have an in buyer. So I actually have found an in buyer. But my thing is, I'm trying to figure out how to get the contract. Do I send my wholesaler a JV deal? Or do I send him a regular purchase and sell agreement? Then I send my buyer the assignment of contract.
Okay, so first of all, does the other wholesaler have the property under contract?
Yes,
And you've checked the contract out, it's a bona fide contract?
yes, sir.
So you could do it multiple ways. If you, when's this thing supposed to close roughly?
He gave me 7 days.
So is your buyer ready to take it down in 7 days?
I'm just literally waiting for him to give me a call back because I told him 7 days. He said okay. I'm just waiting for him to call me back. Supposed to
Okay,
be calling
question
back.
number 2. I assume he has an assignable contract?
He did not really. It was just more of a contract like directed towards me to sign and then put a $10,000 EMD down.
How much is the property? What's the sales price on it?
Okay, he has it under contract for 150. He's asking 215 for it. I have my in buyer at 226.
So theoretically, in a perfect world, I'll tell you how to do this. So the question is he going to be closing on his contract or is he want to assign his contract?
I'm assuming like I talked to him. I'm assuming he's cool with signing it. He just told me to send him over a contract, and I talked to my other friend that's a wholesaler, and he's telling me to send over a JV agreement.
Okay, so there's 2 ways. There's 3 ways you can do this. The cleanest way is to send over, if he'll let you do it, an assignment of contract. And yes, you can do this so daisy chain just refers there's more than one wholesaler involved. So I will tell you this. So if he has that contract and he assigns it to you, that's the cleanest way and gives you the absolute most control. Now, his contract has to be assignable and he has to allow you to do that. And if he does that, he minimizes his fees. Like he doesn't have to be closing costs and all the other crap. That is the best way to do it. So if he has it on a contract 150 and he wants to sign it to you for 215, correct?
Yes, sir.
And then your buyer's going to pay you a premium above that?
226.
Correct. So then what you could do is you could actually do another assignment from yours and then the buyer just pays you the difference. You can do it that way. The second way is you can write a contract, but then you got to close and you're going to have multiple closings and it's going to start to eat into everyone's profits. But it is a sizable spread, so that's not uncommon. The third way is basically you do a JV agreement, but how well do you know this wholesaler?
Not that well. Like we've just like he called me. I didn't even know who he was until he called me and said like, "Hey, I believe you left a sticky note on one of my properties." I was like, "Yeah," and that's how we kind of met. Like we've had conversations, like we're building rapport with each other, but he's not a great friend of mine or anything like that.
So here's the problem with most wholesalers, and I teach more people in the entire world wholesaling. We're brutal to each other. Like they will screw you in a heartbeat. People get really greedy when it gets to this stuff. Here's the problem with the JV agreement. You can have him sign it, but in the end, he's still in control. And so the question is, if you had rapport with him and you've done a deal with him before, I'd tell you the JV thing with your eyes shut. But here's the problem. The JV agreement is just, it's a contract and it spells out your agreement on this property and he can get cute with it. You guys, I've been cut out of more JV. Guys, I do sellmypaper.com and I still have issues with people every now and then. because I can't control what that other guy does with that contract. If he does something else and I'm not aware of it, there's nothing I can do. So I would just have a sincere conversation. There's 3 ways to take it down. You can do an assignment of contract, and you want to work with your title company and ask them the cleanest way you can do it to protect your interest and the originating wholesalers. Because that way he would get his 65 grand and then you get anything above that. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And you have a contractual obligation and he has to follow through. The $10,000 deposit seems a little bit out there. I'm just being honest with you. That's a big number. Most people don't do more than 5 grand in wholesaling.
I've tried talking to him. He's not budging on that. I even tried talking to him about the 215, and he wasn't budging on that either. Because I've actually had 2 walkthroughs on the property. One guy said he was at 175. Another guy was at 90, and which neither one of those numbers would work for me anyways. And he wasn't interested in taking that either.
You got to make sure your cash buyer right now is all in. And they can come up with the 10 grand and they're okay with the correct price. If they're not okay with that, don't do any of these options. This is a waste of time.
Okay. And with the 10,000 deposit, so do I put in the assignment contract that I send my wholesaler that he's going to get the 10,000 deposit, and then I put in the other assignment of contract to my buyer that he's assigning the 10,000 to me, and then the title company just takes care of it?
So here's what happens. So do you have a title company you already work with?
He has the title company and everything set up already, the wholesaler.
Okay. So it's just going to have to come down to your comfort level. And the main thing is, so here's the problem. The wholesaler's in control of everything. They're in control of everything. So you can do a JV agreement and you have to give it to the title company, and you got to make sure you don't get cut out of the deal. So you can do the JV agreement. That's probably what you're going to have to do, because you're not in control of the title company and you're not in control of the original contract. So you have to do a JV agreement, and you got to talk to somebody at the title company, and you got to physically email it to them and make sure they understand that you're in the chain of getting paid on this deal. Period. Okay. End of story. So with that being said, I would do the JV agreement and make sure your guy understands anything north of 215 is yours. Okay. Because a lot of these buyers go, well, I thought about it and I thought, so how much is your in buyer? Is it 220 or 225?
226 actually.
Okay. So $11,000, he might go, well, that's not fair. You make 11 grand. I'm only going to give you 5. If you have that agreement spelled out in the JV in the title. So here's the key: is you got to hold the title company accountable, because if the title company doesn't pay you, the title company can be sued. So your only line of defense is that title company. Okay. You have to and you need to know exactly when the closing date is and anything that goes down with that contract. And keep in mind, they're not your title company, so they're going to be much more loyal to that original wholesaler than to you. Okay. Now, if I had a JV agreement, I struck it with him, I would get my title company and I would probably give him $200 and tell him to babysit the crap out of the contract to make sure I get paid. That $200 is what we call an insurance policy, so I don't get screwed by another wholesaler. Okay. I would also consider, well, it's not your title company, is you could technically record something in public record to make sure your claim on this property is satisfied, but that can be a risky venture. I'm just telling you, when you deal with the wholesaler for the new time, you went out, you hustled, and you find him a buyer, you better make sure you're protected, and you better make sure you read the Riot Act. And your only method when you do this is through the title company. And you better have a name for the title company, find out who the owner is, and you better have every detail in that closing. Every document needs to be shared with you because you need to know what's going on, right? Yes, sir. Because in the end, if your buyer doesn't buy it, they're going to be all over you about the 10 grand. By the way, I love when people say you have to leave a $10,000 non-refundable deposit. That's what he says, right? Yes, sir. Just so you know, you can't really do that. It doesn't work that way. And you're talking about guys doing this 21 years. So if you leave $10,000 with the title company, it goes into escrow. You know what the definition of escrow is? No, sir. It is a neutral party for both sides.
Okay.
They're not biased. It's neutral money. When money goes into escrow, it's neutral. The only way money can be released out of escrow is both parties have to sign off on it. If either party disputes it, then that title company has to send that money to the state, and then they have to argue it out in court, which is a benefit to your cash buyer. So there's got to be a legitimate reason if they don't close anyways. But I'm just here to the only way you get around the non-refundable deposit. So everybody watching this, now I've been doing this 21 years. My buyers make the check out to my company. It goes into my account and I hold it until the deal closes. You know why? Because if he doesn't show up to the closing company, I don't have to chase him around for his money and I don't need his or her permission. So future strategy for you, when you guys do a lot of deals after a while, people will trust you and they'll give you the deposit directly. That is technically a non-refundable deposit. If you put money in escrow, unless both parties sign an agreement saying that they waive any rights to this or anything like that, and they give a predetermination where the money goes, it's technically, it can't be deemed non-refundable. So when you give it to a title company, that's why I kind of laugh when wholesalers go to me, I need a $5,000 non-refundable check. I go, is it being made out to escrow? I don't even care. Because you have to follow escrow rules, not non-refundable wholesaler rules. So do a JV agreement and lock on that title company and make sure you have a personal name. You have their first name, their middle name, and their last name, and try to get their cell phone number and just basically let them know when this thing closes, you need to get paid. And if it's local, go pick up the check locally. And if it's a virtual, make sure they wire you the money. Okay. But make sure you know when that closing date is, because 7 days are going to go by real quick.
Yeah. Yes, sir. Yeah, like, because I'm gonna be honest, like I've been working on this for about 2 weeks now, and the anxiety is just it's like, because
But you have to protect your interests. So it's and then once again, I would get a separate email from the wholesaler spelling out exactly what you agreed on in case there's a dispute down the road.
now, is that just a regular email?
Yeah, regular email. You can do a contract, written it out. But by the way, I did the exact same thing you did. So I appreciate the hustle muscle. The wholesaler had a homeowner under contract 6 months. I did some door knocking on foreclosures. Lady goes, listen, my house is going up to auction in like 30 days. Apparently, this guy put it under contract 6 months ago and never did anything with it. And then somehow it came to light that I put it under contract. I found he had a contract. So I got out of my contract. I said I have a cash buyer. I was making like 20 grand. I went to his title company and they conveniently pulled out the hold harmless, which I was stupid. And he was supposed to sign it. They pulled it out of his documents. Very unethical title company. Bottom line is I got paid and then I got sued for $50,000. And I had to settle and give that other guy like $23,000 because they were draining me in legal fees. All because I didn't have a correct paper trail. And he changed the entire story around and said, I told him I was a realtor and I would never do any of this stuff. So make sure you have your documentation from your wholesaler in case it ever comes up. And then make sure you hold someone's butt under the fire at the title company. Title companies don't want lawsuits with properties. The title company is the only one that's going to protect your interest in this type of transaction.
Okay. So do JV deal, and then I send over the assignment of contract to the end buyer.
No. So here's what you're going to do is first you got to put together the JV deal. Okay. Once you have the JV deal, say, listen, I'm going to do a JV. I have a buyer from you. Once you sign that JV deal, I will provide you the new purchase and sales contract. What I would advise you to do, and this is like the idea is if wholesalers work together, are you okay doing an assignment of contract that will actually save you money so you don't have two closings? He or she should say yes, absolutely, and be fine with it. They might want to do a double close because it's kind of a bigger spread. That's completely up to them. The only thing you ask is anything past the 215 is yours. You've got to be very clear on that, because a lot of times they go, well, we're going to take the closing fees out of that and this. Go, listen, I can do a JV agreement. If your contract's assignable, we can make it assignable. You also have to make sure your cash buyer is okay with doing an assignable contract. Some people freak out when they see the price difference on it. If your cash buyer is okay with it, do that. If not, you just got to do a double close.
Okay.
But once again, you got to talk to that wholesaler and let them know. But you never present your contract or anything until you have that JV agreement locked up.
Okay.
Once you have that JV agreement up, then you can go into the numbers.
Okay.
So do the JV agreement and put it out. And then the JV agreement, he has to spell anything up to 215,000 is mine. Anything north of 215 is yours. You have X amount of days to deliver it. Here's the terms, and that's it. And then after that, do you want to do this assignment of contract? It would be smart because it's basically one piece of paper your end buyer signs and it's over with. They have to be okay that they see the spread difference. Some cash buyers don't like that. If not, you could just present your own contract and they do a double closing. But you have to do the JV agreement first, okay?
Okay. Yes, sir.
Okay. Anything else?
No, sir. Thank you for everything. I appreciate it.
You got it, man. Just keep doing it. And then eventually you go out and find your own sellers and then you don't have to deal with stuff like this. But guys, my first 2 years, that's pretty much all I did was I'd find other wholesalers to do all my dirty work for me. So, but you got to put up with all the crap.
Yes, sir.
Okay, man. I'll see you later. Keith, you there?
Yo, what's up, Rick?
What's going on, man?
I'm all right. How about yourself?
I can't complain. It's a little warm, but
yes, sir.
I'm above ground today. So what else do I ask for?
That's right. That's right. My question earlier, I put in there, do you pass over properties that are in a trust, or is that similar to a probate? I would take it, or how's the strategy on that?
So trusts don't bother me at all because I own several properties in a trust. Occasionally I use trust. So the reason people use trust is they always have some sort of reason for doing it. So for most part, most people put stuff in a trust because it's exactly what it sounds like. You trust someone to take care of an asset for you. Maybe you're leaving the country. Maybe somebody has a disability. Maybe the person's just not trustworthy and they're young and somebody oversees it. That's really in essence what a trust is. The second part of trust, well, there's two other techniques of trust. The other one is about being anonymous, which was a great technique for 10 years ago. It's really tough to do right now. Wholesalers used to use trust to hide who was buying the property. And honestly, it's extremely frowned upon. And it usually gets you in more trouble than it's worth.
Gotcha.
The third one is for financial planning, which is what the ones that you really want to target that do. That means if they met with a tax strategist, either a CPA or like a tax attorney, and someone's got a lot of money and they find ways to put it in a trust to offset in the event they were going to die so they don't have to pay all the inheritance tax, all that other stuff.
Okay.
And that's extremely common. They're expensive to set up. People spend a lot of money to do those. Now, the beautiful thing about most trust is they don't go through probate. And a lot of people do a trust to try to avoid it. But you got to understand, it is expensive. And there's a lot of implications when you set up a trust. Like you don't get a lot of the advantages when you personally own the home. And there's a lot of reporting and stuff that you have to do. So what I like about them is they don't go through probate, and a lot of people skip them. But usually a trust has a what they call a trustee. That's the person you've got to get in touch with.
Right.
And now, for the most part, most properties record on public record. The owner of record, they'll either put the the ABC Family Trust,
right,
or like in the state of Florida, they put the trustee's name on there. Unfortunately, I know this all too well because my name's all over it. You always want to get a hold of trustee. The trustee has the same amount of power as the owner. And then there's a beneficiary. That's the person that the trustee is enacting for. And then they're usually in charge of taking care of bills, hiring contractors to do work on the property. And then
similar to a probate.
If they have to sell the asset, they're in charge of liquidating the asset either through a realtor or like a wholesaler.
Gotcha. So similar to a person like in a probate, but it's just kind of going
doesn't go
around
through probate. So
right.
People kind of do that, but like honestly, sometimes it's harder. And the downside with trust is sometimes it's hard to get to the decision maker.
Right.
And some people just like put a bunch of people on there. They're not really the decision makers. So it's, but I will tell you, when people want to sell a property in a trust, it's actually usually very smooth because they're not emotional about it. Like, it's time, we just need to get rid of the property.
Yeah. A
And
lot
those
of
are
my
my
driving.
favorite ones. They're far and few between.
Yeah. A lot of my driving for dollars leads ended up coming back in living trust. I'd say probably a good 10% of the leads did. And obviously the corporate owned and anybody owns more than 4 or 5 properties, I kind of bypassed those to the bottom of the list. And I was kind of doing the same things with trust, but it started intriguing my mind. I just wanted to know a little bit more about chasing those down.
Some of them, it's hard to figure out who's in charge.
Mm-hmm.
To the point you almost got to knock on the door and like, who's in charge here? That's the fastest way to figure out who's in charge of the trust, because usually complicated lawyers set it up and CPAs. And I gotta be honest, I've had them set up for me. I'm like, I don't even understand this. Like, who the hell's in charge here? Well, Susie Smith in Arkansas. I go, who's Susie Smith?
And then there's
I learned a rule a long time ago. If I don't understand it, I don't want to sign up for it. And a lot of people that get in the trust, they don't even understand them.
For sure. Yeah.
And so we just got to listen, who's in charge here? Who do I need to get a hold of? And a lot of trusts, they have to be updated every few years, and most of them aren't. So sometimes the trustee's no longer with us and stuff like that. And then that's a great opportunity because people are like, I don't even know how to sell the property because my mom set it up and she's not here anymore. And it's been 15 years. What do I do? I'm like,
so there could be some nuggets there. There's a little opportunity, but
yeah, don't kill yourself looking it up. Like if you got to spend more than 20, 30 minutes, it's probably going to be a rough go finding it out. Honestly, especially if you're doing drive for dollars, sometimes it's just easier to leave a note on the door and just like figure it out from there.
Gotcha.
Hey, I want to talk to you about your property. Got a quick question.
Gotcha. Yeah. Yeah. And then on the scammers earlier, I don't know if it probably wasn't Zach, but probably last Thursday, I got a message from Zach Ginn. And I said, what? Does Zach want to talk to me? And I'm pretty sure this was a scammer because I looked at their profile and he has taken all of the posts from Zach's channel. But where I caught on was, well, first of all, he was asking me, how you doing in wholesale? And I said, well, I'm trying to get my first deal. And then he tried to pitch me on another avenue. And I was like, Zach wouldn't tell me to focus on something else. And I'm still trying to focus on this. But he had all of his posts from his Facebook page on there. But where I caught it was they only had one view. And I actually found Zach's Facebook page. And of course, there was all the, so there's scammers everywhere, bro.
Because I believe it was Saturday. Because all my friends sent me, goes, Rick, you keep hitting me up for money. I go,
ain't you?
What are you talking about? I looked it up. There's like 82 accounts with my name on it. So there's nothing you can do because once I report one, 3 more pop up. So here's the simple rule. Like, me and Zach will never ask you guys for money. Yeah. And if somebody asks you for money, you just assume it's not us because
I caught it real quick. I tied them up and asked questions.
They all ask for like crypto and they're like, give me your bank card number and we'll figure it all out. Like, none of that shit. Like, sorry, it just
good.
But there's nothing you can do. And the thing is, now with AI, I don't even think it's people doing it. I just think it's automated systems.
Oh yeah. I hope this message reaches you well. That's your first clue. That's AI.
No, it's like it's you guys ever have a question, just come on the live or like we just
yeah, I thank you very much for all you guys do, man. And I
get people that get like in scams all the time. I'm like, listen, you unfortunately you got to learn the hard way sometimes. Like, if it sounds too good to be true, give them a snuff test.
Oh yeah, that's what I was asking all kinds of questions.
It's like just a simple snuff test. Hey Zach, how long have you been wholesaling? And they're not going to know the answer because it's a computer and like it's just simple things like that. Hey Rick, what's your age? Even though you can figure all that out. So
I started to ask him, hey, what's your dad's name?
No,
can you tell me that?
But a lot of these things I believe are AI. So it's they're even like dumber now on like how they do it. But it's they changed. Like I saw one with Rick with 2 Ks, and I mean they're slick, but
they're everywhere. But I appreciate everything. Everywhere.
It's only going to get worse with the AI, so that's why we kind of keep our stuff real. So you don't have to worry about it.
Absolutely. Thanks for everything you guys do, man. I'm getting a lot of value.
I'll see you, Keith. Later. Okay, guys. So if you are new to this, do me a favor. Make sure you go over to freewholesaling.com. I pretty much put up the entire message. It's right there for you. And listen, if you got value from today, make sure you subscribed to this channel, the Rick Ginn channel. Make sure you smash that like button if you got value from this. And guys, if you're not subscribed to this channel, I don't know what to tell you. If you're subscribed, you get exclusive content. I put it up here. And guys, make sure you subscribe to my son's channel, Zach Ginn. If you guys ever question if it's the real deal, we do not send you guys personal messages. If someone does that, it's going to be a scam artist, and you got to know that going into it. So guys, I appreciate you. I will see you. I'll be on Flip with Rick Thursday. Zach will be on tomorrow. We'll be on Wednesday. And then that's it, guys. Go get a deal. I'll see you later.